Welcome back to Peek into COS. This episode is brought to you from the Studio 809 Community Podcast at The Next Us, a professional cooperative environment for small businesses in downtown Colorado Springs. Today, I am joined by Jack Hosley and Mariah Kercher, the owners of the Pikes Peak Ranch. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's great to be here. Yeah, great to be here.
Super. Nice to have you both here. So the Pikes Peak Ranch has been around for like more than 20 years, but the two of you are new. Like you've owned it for about a year?
Yep, we're coming up 10 months right now.
Okay, so almost a year. So tell us a little bit about how that came to be, and did you always want to own a ranch?
Yeah, it's a great question, Doug. The path to get here has been a little long and winding. It really started as kind of when I was 15. I was exposed to this bluegrass festival that was a place where everybody could come together, experience art and music, and connect to nature. And I was really blown away by it. And that kind of stayed with me, that feeling of, I want to create something like this one day, a place where people can come together to gather, be with each other, really express themselves. And that was a really pivotal moment. And as I went through business school and getting into real estate and went back and got my teaching license, it was always a part of the dream and the why. And Jack and I have known each other for more than 10 years, but when we started dating 4 or 5 years ago, I was like, I have this dream. I have this really big dream, and it's kind of my next step in life. What do you think about this? And
I thought it sounded great.
Yeah.
like most guys. Okay,
yeah, exactly.
So go ahead, dream with me, right?
Yes.
Dream with me.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and we started kind of really seeing as our skill sets were, could we make something like this work? What would it look like? And it took a lot of different routes of what's the most kind of like, what's the easiest way to make this happen and what's most realistic.
Right.
And so it wasn't always a dream specifically to own a ranch, but my grandma did live on the same farm in rural Idaho for about over 75 years. So I do have that part in me also, kind of calling to living off the land. And what Jack and I really wanted to create together was having this large space of land, a large area of land that people can come together, basically.
So you made a comment that we both bring different skill sets to it. So Jack, what do you bring to this project?
So my background is in like property management and construction management. So I bring a lot more of those kind of practical hands-on skills in terms of managing the property, managing the rentals we have on the property and everything that comes along with that. But then also focusing on the development of the property and using my skills as from developing in the past to kind of navigate that area of the ranch, and we've done a lot of work since we purchased the property.
Let's not get too far into this without telling people where you are located. Okay, yeah, they could be, okay, who are these people? And Pikes Peak Ranch, talk to us. Where exactly is it located?
So we are about 20 minutes north of Woodland Park, halfway between Woodland Park and Deckers. We're Pikes Peak. It was formerly Pikes Peak Resort. We decided to rename it to Ranch. And we've got cool views of Pikes Peak as well as other like local mountains. And it's an awesome place in Colorado to experience the mountains and all the activities that come with that. We're right across the street from some really cool quad riding trails.
Fishing,
fly fishing,
River.
hiking,
Awesome.
biking.
Good. So we'll get into all that. But what a history! It's got, for people who are from Colorado, the Hayman Fire is something that many people know of.
Sure.
But there will be certainly listeners to this that don't know anything about the Hayman Fire. And so that was in 2002.
Yep.
So talk a little bit about the history of the ranch.
That's definitely a big part of the ranch because it is located right kind of in the middle of where that Hayman fire came through. It's definitely something we get questions a lot about from guests who aren't from Colorado, aren't from the area, haven't heard about the fire. The biggest question is, when did it happen? Because they think it happened maybe a couple years ago, something like that, and don't realize it was actually over 20 years ago. And just how long it takes for, an old forest like that to come back to where it was. And that being said, the previous owners had to grapple with that, and they actually lost 2 buildings in the fire on the property, which required rebuilding, and they have since rebuilt both those buildings. They also have gone through extensive efforts of removing all of the burnt dead wood from the property, making it look really clean and pristine compared to its surrounding national forest. And then planting hundreds of trees on the property as well. So they really put us in an awesome position to take control of this land, continue to be stewards of it. We kind of have a grid laid out for us on how to do that from the previous owners. And our goal is to just kind of continue to do that, to keep bringing back that forest as it was.
So let's do the Reader's Digest version of what you tell people when they ask you, so how did the Hayman fire start? So we'll keep it brief, but just tell people, what do you tell people?
Yeah, well, we tell them it's such an interesting story, and it devastated that entire area. It's one of the largest fires in the U.S. until the California fires. A forest, it sounds like you might know, but you don't. A forest ranger was actually burning love letters in the forest, and she started one of the largest fires in like the U.S.'s history or Colorado's history, and so. It kind of decimated the town. Town lost half the population, and they're still recovering today.
Yeah, it's and she was arrested and confessed and all that stuff. But what for a ranger to do that. It was okay. Well, here we go. So. All right, so now let's kind of come to where you are today in terms of the guest experience. So for people that are listening and going, okay, we don't know where we're going to stay yet in the Pikes Peak region, talk a little bit about what sort of accommodations and what the experience is like for people who check in.
Well, I know I'm a lot more like feelings based than Jack. He'll give you the very like tangible things for them to expect, and I want them to experience all those, but as well as we want guests to come away with a feeling of that they came to the ranch, they got to experience the beauty of the Colorado and the mountains, and feel like they could unplug for a minute and disconnect and come away feeling like that was awesome. My cup is filled. I'm feeling joy. And they get to do this we have 5 cabins, and they each have a hot tub and grill and fire pit and like just stocked amenities. And it's at a really great price where you feel like, wow, I'm getting so much for what I'm paying for. And they all have stunning views. And so you have this like really high-end cabin experience, and there's so much activities to do around you. Like we kind of touched on this earlier of hiking and biking and quadding and fishing and going to Pikes Peak and all the activities around Colorado Springs. And so you really feel like you have this epitome of the Colorado mountain vacation. And that's what we want our guests to come away feeling. And Jack, I don't know, what you want to add to that?
Just on top of that, it is 110 acres, the ranch. Okay. So it really affords guests the space to spread out. All of the cabins are spread out over that property. So they all feel pretty private. You don't feel like you're, in a neighborhood. You feel like you really are out in the woods.
Sure.
I think that's one of our biggest pluses. And then just where we're located in the valley, we're up high on one of the sides of the valley. So you get beautiful views from all the cabins, beautiful views from your hot tubs. And I think, like Mariah said, the most important thing we really want to offer is, yes, we have awesome accommodations at a great price, but it's the intangible stuff as well that, you know, we try and foster and have guests who come to our property enjoy, like getting connection with their family, getting relaxation time that they needed in order to go back to their busy lives, all of that, and just enjoying the nature because we get to enjoy it every day. So,
Yeah.
Do you have people who come and rent all 5 cabins? Like, this is our family, our group
Yes.
gathering?
Yeah. And I wanted to touch on that. We are in the process of, we're open for the event side of things, and so that's kind of the previous owners rented out the cabins, and they have guests come back year after year. We have one guest, I want to give him a shout out, but I don't want to blow up his name on here, who's come like for the past 10 years multiple times a year.
Oh, great.
And so that part was established, and Jack and I in the past 10 months have built out the event side of things.
Okay.
And so we've got guests coming for family reunions, family retreats. We're looking to grow into like yoga retreats, different types of offerings, as well as weddings is our biggest type of event that
So
we're throwing.
Do you have a kitchen, or do you bring in cater? Like, do you cater, or how's that work?
Yeah, great question.
we have a catering kitchen
Okay.
within our event space that can be used by caterers, and we also have a outdoor patio area connected to that kitchen for outdoor grilling, outdoor cooking, all of that stuff.
So what's the magic number for the size event you can do?
Magic number is 145 people.
Okay.
That's our occupancy load within the event center.
Okay.
There are ways to go a little bigger if needed with outdoor space, that kind of thing.
Sure.
But that's the number of people allowed within our building.
That's great.
Yeah.
So if somebody comes in and is doing 145 people, chances are they've got people from out of town that are going to be larger than just the 5 cabins. So where do people stay when you're booked?
Yeah, we've got our next door neighbors, and we say next door neighbors, but they're actually like 80 acres away from us. But they run a lodge that sleeps 23 guests.
Okay.
And so combined, we can actually sleep the 5 cabins, and then our newest building, the Aspen House, can sleep an additional 12. And so we can sleep 40 on site, and then the lodge next door, the Thunderbeat Lodge, can sleep 23, and then in Woodland Park, there's a lot of hotels and Airbnbs, all sorts of stuff. So a lot of, if you're over kind of that 65 guest count, or if you can't get the lodge next door and you're over 40, you can be like 15 minutes, 20 minutes from town.
Got it.
We've also partnered with a couple different shuttle companies to make that process easier for guests and, you know, have someone to connect with right away that they can solve any transportation issues.
So, you know, I've talked to people and know folks that have like their own B&B, or, you know, they're even doing their Airbnbs and VRBOs and that kind of stuff. It sounds like your backgrounds were not necessarily, you didn't come up thinking that this is what we were going to do. Your grandmother had it, but what is it like for you all to be the owners of this ranch where you got people checking in and asking you all these questions, and you're in the hospitality industry, you know? And so what's that been like for you?
It's definitely been a transition.
Yeah.
You know, we both came from more, I don't want to say normal, but more normal jobs, traditional jobs where you're going into an office or something like that. Mariah was a teacher, so that's slightly different as well. But, you know, it definitely puts you in a position where you have to be kind of on all the time when you have...
Because you live there, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, you live at the ranch.
We live on site, and... You know, we have a lot of guest interaction that way. Guests want to meet us, and we want to meet them. Like Mariah said, the guests that have been coming from year to year, they want to meet the new owners. So that's been a big thing of, you know, getting to introduce ourselves and kind of talk about our intentions and reassure them that it's still going to be the same place they've been coming to for years.
Yeah.
And there's also the new challenges of now being a boss. You know, we had been in managerial positions in the past, but never the head honcho at the top of the pyramid. Right. So that's definitely a different challenge to kind of grapple with throughout this.
How many employees do you have?
5.
5. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. And they're awesome employees. We got so lucky they actually stayed on from the previous owners. So that really set us up for success, having amazing employees right from the start.
100%. They knew everything.
So they've trained you.
They've trained us, exactly.
Exactly.
Yes, and we want to just show up and do right by them and kind of keep honoring the guests that do come there.
Yeah.
And, yeah, focusing on, of course, like ways we do want to grow things out, but really staying true to the beauty of it and why it's been such a success.
Well, I give you both a lot of credit for recognizing the value of those 5 employees, because there are times where folks can come in and just, we're going to do a fresh start. We're going to, thanks for all you've done. But clearly you've got people that are loyal, and the transition must be going well because they're still with you. How seasonal is your business?
We're year round.
Okay.
For sure. The summer is our highest season, but we pretty much maintain 85% year round occupancy.
Okay.
And so there is a lot of things to still do in the wintertime, and we're not so high in elevation. Like, we moved from Breckenridge, so accessing like that much higher in elevation and snow and all that stuff, like we really do a good job of maintaining year round access, and so guests love to come in all seasons.
What would you say, looking back on this first year, has been the biggest obstacle? Like the number one thing that you either didn't expect, or it's like, oh my gosh, how did we do that?
What do you think?
I wrote down like 10 obstacles. But thinking of the first ones, I think the sheer amount of new information being thrown at us, and any new business owner, like you can prepare, but you don't actually know until you're there dealing with it. And so it's been an obstacle of, trusting yourself to make the correct decision, take in all of the information and move from a place of clarity, even though you're overwhelmed with all the different aspects of things, and just making sure that we're also communicating as a team instead of like, well, I'm super frustrated and I'm going to take it out on you because you're my person.
Yeah.
Instead of, maintaining like, we're in a whole new environment of coworkers and co-bosses. And so,
I think that's a big one, is working together for the first time, and on such a stressful, big project, you could call it. That's a big transition of working for ourselves. That's like normally the time you have away from your spouse or significant other during the day. Then it's like every moment of the day, you're trying to work through these everyday challenges. So you got to kind of adjust your relationship in that way as well. And I think the one other one is living on the ranch and having the vision of where we want to be, and feeling that overwhelming kind of pressure to like get it all done at once because we're living there. How do you turn it off at night, kind of a thing.
That's
and we've gotten a ton done, and we've also had a lot of stress involved with it, so we're finding that balance of get it all done, but also make sure you have time for yourself as well.
I there again, I give you both credit for not only being able to recognize and verbalize that, but realizing how important it is for you to be able to get away. And I imagine you haven't been able to take like a big vacation or anything, but the idea of having time for yourselves to like get away and plan your wedding and do things that are really important for you, that if you let it slip, the best laid plans of running a business can all of a sudden like get in the way of everything. And so because you hear that from people that have their own bed and breakfast. It's like there's always people in the house,
right?
And how do you just cut that cord and get a little bit of time? So it's good that you recognize that.
Yeah, absolutely. We know we're in the first year, and we, this is going to be the most stressful time, but for the sustainability, we want to be working, with each other in our relationship and as in the long run.
Right.
So it's like, where are we going to be in 40 years, and thinking through the long term and the short term.
So give the listeners some insight as to how do you market something like this? I mean, I know you got a website, I'm sure, but do how does it work to get the word out?
I'll defer to our chief marketing
Our
officer.
CMO over
Yes,
here.
thank you.
Yeah,
Credit
how's
where
Visit
due.
Colorado Springs working for you, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's background-wise, I was doing the marketing for a short-term rental company before I went back to school to pursue a teaching license. And so I had some of the basics of kind of on the short-term rental side how to do this, but a lot of it is like Google. Like, it's not rocket science. You can look into it and learn what are kind of best practices. And so we really have tried to take a approach that is very people-based and also really organic, and putting our marketing dollars into relationships and getting to know people and saying yes to like every networking event. And we built a new website, and
What's the URL?
it's pikespeakranch.com.
Pikespeakranch.com.
Yes.
Okay. Good.
So our new website was, we got that live a couple months in, and that's really gaining some traction now. And a big part of that is where we kind of, like I said, do the approach of it's people based, and it's making sure we're networking and partnering with the right people. And we have a business consultant, Jess Barkman at Not at Events. She's wonderful. She's really helped us open up the wedding and event side of things, because from a short-term rental standpoint, we understood how to get, continue on Airbnb and VRBO and build that type of traction through Google and SEO, but we're both completely new to the wedding industry and event industry. And so she's been incredible about helping us form partnerships and talk to the right people.
That's great. Well, Mariah, I heard you say that you were coming up on a year, right, of ownership. So is there a celebration planned or anything around your 1 year?
Yes, actually, we're very excited to be having our grand opening party this June 29th, and everyone listening is invited. It's going to be at the ranch from 5 to 10 p.m., and we'll have more info on our community page on our website, which would be pikespeakranch.com/community. We're looking to bring in local bands. We'll provide music and food and drinks and games, and it'll just be an awesome time. And it's our chance to also support our community and our neighbors, and we will be doing a community fundraiser portion as well.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, we're very excited.
June 29th, 2024.
Yes, this
Correct.
year.
Yes.
Yeah, a
If
couple
you're
months
listening
away.
before that date, come on, stop by.
Yeah, okay, good. All right, so before we wrap, we've got a quick break to give a shout out to our sponsor for this week's episode, the Colorado Springs Airport. There's something about the airport that drives travelers wild. Maybe it's the friendly customer service, the stress-free security process, or just the laid-back vibe. Whatever it is, it's easy to see why so many people are falling in love with Colorado's small airport. So go ahead, fly COS, and see what all the fuss is about. Fall in love with Colorado's small airport. So, what we do to wrap the show up is we ask 3 questions of everybody. And I think what I'll do with the two of you is I'll ask you the first question. I'll ask you the second question,
right.
and then together you guys can both weigh in on the third one. Okay.
Perfect.
Sounds
So, Mariah, in 3 words, how would you describe Colorado Springs?
I would say access to nature. That's going to
3.
be one part. Yeah, I know.
That's one. Okay.
Access to nature, kind people, and accessible.
And accessible. Okay, great. Jack, what is your favorite hidden gem in the whole Pikes Peak region? Where do you like to go?
That's a great question. Honestly, my favorite hidden gem is the Trail Creek area that's right outside our ranch, actually. And it's a huge network of ATV off-roading dirt bike trails that I think everyone should try and come stay at the ranch and go enjoy, because it's amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great. All right, so both of you, what would you say is still on your Colorado Springs bucket list? What have you not done?
I really want to do the Pikes Peak Cog.
You would do the Cog Railway?
Yes,
Yeah.
we want to do that really bad. That's mine.
All right, so doing the Cog,
Yeah.
yes.
That's a good one. I like that one as well. I want to see more about like the Olympic Museum, and I've been definitely looking forward to finding some time to go see all that stuff.
So Saturdays in July, I'm sure, are busy. But I hope they're busy, right?
Yes,
They better
exactly. Right.
But Saturday, July 27th is the opening ceremonies and everything for the Olympic Games in Paris.
Oh, great.
And down at the Olympic Museum, Olympic and Paralympic Museum, there's festivities all day. And so that would be a really fun day to see it activated. And the every day of the Olympic Games and the Paralympic Games, they're going to be showing them on the big screen inside.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So maybe, make a commitment to check that off your bucket list and come down sometime in the month of August and see the museum.
I'm definitely going to try
That's
and do
great.
that.
That would be good.
Thanks for letting me know.
So let your listeners know all the places that they can find information on you, social media, everything else. Tell us where they can get more information.
Yeah. Our website, I'll say the URL again, but that's a great place to go to book cabins, to look into events, to make an inquiry, as well as to see on our community page. We actually have a yoga program we started, and we'll be adding more community programs that are free or donation-based. So our website's a great resource, and that is pikespeakranch.com. Our social media and our Facebook are pretty easy. They're Pikes Peak Ranch. And those are awesome places to go to just see more of what the ranch looks like, what projects we're up to, as well as to get some discount codes that we love to release.
Okay, that's great. Now, you've already invited every listener to come on June 29th to the grand opening. But I also know there's a big date in 2025 in September that you're going to get married. So are you going to invite everybody who's listening to the wedding? Because you'll have to work this with your wedding event planner, right? I'm sure she's going to help you with your wedding.
100%. Maybe we'll make like a live stream for
There you
everybody
go.
to see.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that one's going to be invite only.
Invite only.
Yes,
Okay.
but we are so excited because so many of the changes and updates we've gotten to make to the venue, we'll get experience on the couple side. So.
See, what I love about this too is that you are two young people who have chosen this area to really launch your dream. And, dreams for both the ranch and your life together and the whole bit. And you could have probably tried this a lot of different places. You could have gone back to Idaho or, where your grandmother was, but you picked here. And I just think that's one of the things that makes this region so special, that you've got people who are dreaming big, and I really appreciate you coming on the show today and just talking about it and sharing it with listeners. And we appreciate the partnership that we have with you at Visit Colorado Springs, and we'll just enjoy watching you be successful into the future. So thanks for joining us today.
Thank you
Thanks
so much for having
much.
us. It
It's
was
great to be here, Doug. Thank you.
You're welcome.